All right. So we're here with Michael Goldstein from Franklin Cummings Tech. Michael and I connected about a year and a half ago, I believe it was, Michael. And Paul Glager jumped in to build out the Flourish Faster vision and start making connections to higher education innovators, in addition to the ones that I knew from JFF. And you were one of the top of the list and really connected to the idea of the intersection of personal development and professional development, given everything that you've done and everything that is, I'm sure, a conversation that takes place in your house. So maybe we'll just start with a little bit about what took you into Franklin Cummings Tech. Like you came out of Europe, but when you came into this job, like what was important for you as you stepped into it as the chief innovation officer?
Uh, I still remember our first conversation too, which is great. It's not often that at the end of one meeting, I'm like, yeah, we're going to work together. Um, but why did I join Franklin Cummings Tech? Who the heck am I? Why am I here? I'm a city kid from New York. I grew up in the public schools, born and raised in Lower Manhattan, and that really impacts how I see the world. I also spent almost 10 years in the Summer Bridge Breakthrough Movement, where high school and college students run a school for middle school students. And so I fell in love with teaching and then with teaching teachers at a young age. What I ended up spending 11 years at Year Up, which is a preeminent workforce development program for young adults that aims to take these young people to go from poverty to a professional career in a year through 6 months of classroom and 6 months of internships at very high performing organizations. And so I was steeped in this very simple idea of high expectations and high support. High expectations. Doesn't matter where you're from. You're going to be great, and we expect you to be great. And we're not going to take the fact that you may not have a college degree or that you are really trying to provide for yourself and your mom and you're the breadwinner and you're 19 years old and et cetera. All that is a challenge, but you're still going to be great. You're still going to show up early. You're still going to do your work. You're going to impress everybody and high support. If you're going to have those high expectations and you don't have the same background of ease and comfort that you're competing with others who have, we're going to provide you that extra in order to be able to succeed in that marketplace. And so 11 years at Europe, 10 years at Summer Bridge Breakthrough really taught me a lot about what is good teaching, what is good learning, how to build relationships with employers, what do people need in order to succeed on the job? Because too often people don't succeed on the job, and it's pretty heartbreaking. And so I joined Franklin Cummings in early April 2023 as their head of innovation, as their chief innovation officer. Originally, my first task was, hey, figure out admissions. So we figured out admissions and were able to increase by about 36% the number of students who are enrolling in our traditional programs, which was pretty exciting. Um, a lot of that just through building much closer partnerships with schools, with local high schools, especially interestingly enough, charter schools. And just to give you a sense of why that's interestingly enough, we are a technical and trade 2 year college, a nonprofit, private 2 year college in Boston. Those schools send their students to 4 year colleges. So why are they looking at us? Why would they want to build a relationship with a 2 year college? And the answer is because their students don't want to go to college. 15%, they have said, multiple of our partners, that about almost 1 out of 6 of their students don't want to do the traditional path that they've been trained to do. And the colleges want them to have a safe landing, and they pick us because our college has a very high graduation rate, over 50%, and a very high placement rate, over 80%, in the fields that our students go into. Just to give you a comparison, a 50% graduation rate may not seem like much until you look at other 2 year colleges, and they're like, oh, that's pretty good. Typical 2 year college, even after 3 or even 6 years, only has maybe a 20% graduation rate. So we do a lot right here. Um, After admissions, I really began to look at what does it mean to build a relationship with employers, and what might it take so that we become the college of choice for employers across multiple majors that we teach. Interesting thing also about our colleges, We don't teach very much. We teach 8 things, and that's it. We do things like construction management, or we do engineering technology or cybersecurity. We also do things like automotive technology and HVAC. We do advanced HVAC called building energy management. We do practical electricity. And so we are focused on what you need that is beyond what a high school can provide, but doesn't require a college 4 year to be able to get a great job that provides dignity and that provides enough to support a family in the Boston area.
Yeah. And one of the things I've loved about you is you love the art of teaching, you love the art of mentoring, coaching, you love just working with the students directly. You're very unique as someone who works at the administration layer, but also like directly with the kids so closely. And what was it about our first conversation that had you know that we were going to work together?
Yeah, it really didn't take long. Very simple. You deeply respect students, and you were looking at how to create tools that can democratize what is a very undemocratic process of preparing students for success. If you have $100,000 a year, the world is your oyster. But what if you don't? What tools do you have? What chances do you have? And you believed passionately in this topic, and you had some really thoughtful ideas that could work very well with our college. So honestly, an hour later, I was like, "Yep, I'm going to work with Jason. It's just a question of how and when."
Yeah, yeah, and for me, the draw to working with you, in addition to your personality and having fun, was just how much expertise and knowledge you bring to the career development domain. But then, more importantly, I think it's a combination of just who you are. You're a deep learner on personal development as well. Like you run deep on everything from. I mean, you'd bring up authors I hadn't even heard of, right? But you really, and I don't know if that's kind of just the nature of who you are and also what brings you and Hadassah together. But in your home, I imagine human development is a conversation that takes place a lot. That maybe explain a little bit about that
Sure.
person.
I had the very good fortune to marry up. I married Hadassah Margolis, who is a therapist and an entrepreneur who whose specialty is group therapy, which is very unusual. She also has a range of individual clients, but her one of her superpowers is being able to create spaces where people can learn from each other. And so we have done a tremendous amount together to think about how to grow what she's doing to impact more people. And she's working with, oh boy, I think 45 colleges at this point in this series of spirituality and mental health, where that she trains the clergy and the therapists at a college to work together to run groups in spirituality and mental health, like crazy. She's now going to be doing something similar around eco anxiety.
Mm,
Amazing.
mm.
So I'm very proud of my wife, and it has generated some pretty exciting conversations. Oh, the other thing that I really liked about your approach is that you also wanted to democratize the best research that is out in positive psychology that most people just don't take advantage of unless they're in elite sports.
Yeah.
And our students deserve the same tools that elite athletes could get. It's just they're business athletes. So how might we generate those opportunities in that way?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you call it business athletes, and part of where we focus as a company is on athletes because the natural conversation is on performance and it bleeds right into what you do in college, how you see yourself, how you train. But um, the big reveal for me was being a Silicon Valley CEO and learning things in my 30s that I'm like, where was this in school? I mean, I grew
Mm.
up the son of a teacher and a coach and studied a lot about coaching and dynamics, but I didn't get, and I don't think a lot of people get the therapy. They don't get the coaching. They don't get access to the things that elite performers do at a much younger age. And yet, I think those are such core determinants about who we are able to become. And so we end up baking in a lot of content around those topics into what we ended up calling the science of success, which we piloted last year. Maybe you can talk a little bit about as you were thinking about designing this and we worked together, like what was important to you to get right, kind of out of the gate.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the Science of Success class really came out of a defensive decision to fix or prevent a problem that we thought was going to happen. It wasn't very big picture thinking at first. The problem was very simple. We launched a co-op program. We also are using a model that was popularized at Europe, and that Europe United, that where Europe was charging companies for the privilege of hiring their students, but providing a guarantee. And so we are doing the same at our college, which is pretty unusual and going well. But that also meant that we needed to prepare our students for success because we only got paid if the students did well.
Mm.
They can get the job, but if they didn't keep the job, we are out of that revenue that we then reinvest in scholarships and other supports to our students so that they can continue to succeed. And so it really came out of let's cover our backsides in some ways, make sure that they have what they need so that they're much more likely not to screw it up. But what it really became, and where we were moving just when we had our initial conversation, was this could be so much more. This could be an opportunity to inspire our students, to have them think about themselves in a much bigger way about their career and what's possible. And that, uh, uh, yes, we certainly wanted them not to screw things up, but imagine what it would imagine the training and how to get and keep a great job, and make that a strategic competitive advantage for the college.
Yeah.
And so we launched a trial version of it in with thanks to your help. We worked together just for the timeline in the fall of 2024. In January 2025, we launched 4 classes with 80 students just to see what it was like. And we did some A/B testing. We tried it one way on Monday and a different way on Tuesday, things like that, and came away with just hundreds of pages of data on what works, what didn't. Like there are certain things like, oh yeah, we're not doing that again. And trying something that we weren't originally going to do, which was use AI in every class.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was, I mean, part of it is we had some good content that worked in the past and we knew it would work this time. Um, and honestly, in my case, it was just ignorance.
Mm.
Uh, when I tried ChatGPT, 2.0, it was good, but not great. But now it's 4.0.
Yeah.
Like it didn't take that long for it to get really good. And so it was kind of crazy not to use it. But we needed permission to play and try stuff out. And that's what you helped us do.
Yeah, it was so fun to come up with some of those toolkits
Oh,
that
of
guided
course.
students on how
Yeah.
to use it. One of the ones that stuck out to me was habit formation and the query that the students went through on the habits that they're forming. I think the other big aha moment was visualizing their future. But which one stuck out for you?
Yeah, there was two that were just so good. One was I'm going to get to the really good one second. So I'm holding everybody in suspense.
Mhm.
But one was just it seemed like a very small piece, but it actually was a killer activity. And it was simply what to do when you have downtime.
Mm.
Because in a lot of our places, if you're on your phone and someone's watching you on your phone at a auto shop or in a construction management firm, you might be out of a job. Like you can't just default to the things that can entertain you when you don't have much to do at work. So what does it look like? And so we also knew we didn't have a ton of time for them to do a lot of analysis and research and writing. And so we had them essentially brainstorm uh, their topic. It could be, organize the tools in all of my workspace so that it's clean and orderly. And then said to ChatGPT, okay, here's some prompts. I want you to structure as if I'm creating a downtime toolkit. And this is one of the pieces in that encyclopedia of things to do when you have downtime. It needs to include these pieces. It needs to give the specific ideas and tools. And I need you to do it in about 30 seconds. And so ChatGPT did it. And the power is then the students picked it and was like, I like this idea, I don't like this idea. And then they had to take all of it, bring it down to something, and then compete with the other students to see which of the pages in the toolkit are the ones that people thought were the most useful.
Mm.
And it was the voting and the analysis and why this one was better than that one, where people did all of this learning because they had the content. They didn't have to generate it themselves. And that was so cool and not what I expected. That this idea of ChatGPT as an idea generator that allows people to not have to do the work of looking at a blank page and getting intimidated by the blank page, but having something that they could push back on and that they could analyze and evaluate. That was a really good use of AI.
Yeah.
But my favorite was a tried and true activity that we did a little bit different. And the tried and true activity is imagine yourself 5 years from now. I've done that for since 2010. And it was one of the core elements of the orientation at Year Up. And what it does is it gives students this vision that they can be so much bigger than where they are today. Their salaries can be better, the network that they have, the work that they're doing can be so much more interesting, that they can build a life that can be really exciting. It's just not going to be overnight. It's a 5-year process. And that asks for patience. And this is not a patient society. This is not a patient culture. So asking for patience that it's going to take a while to get to this vision is hard. What AI was able to do, especially with DALL-E, is allow students to reflect through a set of prompts that had them imagine themselves in the year, in this case, it was year 2030. And what are they doing? What is their job? What is their workplace? Who are their colleagues? What is their title? How much money are they making? Where do they live now? Who are their peers? What are they doing? What are they doing for fun? How are they using the extra time and money? A lot of our students work 2 jobs and they go to school. So discretionary time is a total luxury. But
Mm.
imagine if you had one job, just one, and you can focus on just one job and be great at that one job. What does your life look like? And then take all of those ideas that you just visualized and just narrate them into an AI program. We use ChatGPT, and then have that generate essentially a comic book of images that that the students themselves created through their storytelling.
Yeah.
And there it is. They can see it and they go, "Oh, this is me. I can be this." The picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, what if it's a picture of you? And what if it's a picture of your own future? Like, oh my gosh, was that cool? And I still have them on my phone that I still hold on to and look at because they really inspire me.
Yeah.
And what that did is it created an emotional response that was way deeper than anything that I ever experienced doing this type of visualization activity before. And it allowed the conversation to go into, all right, so what can possibly mess that up?
Mm.
And the answer is a whole bunch of things, like not showing up to work on time, not communicating when you have an issue, like not building a relationship with your colleagues so that people know, like, and trust you, um, and not using your downtime well. And so it was an introduction that created the demand for students that they really wanted to know themselves internally, intrinsically, that they wanted to know how to get and how to keep that job because the payoff was 2030.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the conversation, like the idea that AI can catalyze a conversation is a big part of our premise that, as you're generating more data about yourself and you're sharing it with your peers, conversation can take place. And what's cool about the classroom environment is it can take place in person, right? And be a very rich, interactive dialogue. We want to bring some of that online too, that happens outside of the classroom. The visualization part is huge. How did students share what they were doing with AI with you as an instructor, with other people that were supporting them? What was the process of transferring knowledge from like what they were developing and learning within themselves about
Yeah.
themselves to you as someone supporting them?
We use Canvas.
Uh-huh.
It's a very good learning management software tool. And one thing that we recognized is that we need our Canvas to connect to our overall student database.
Mm.
We have a student database through Genzabar, which is on a Salesforce-like platform that keeps track of everything from students' grades to any issues or challenges. And it's certain staff have certain amount of rights to read certain amount of layers into it. Um, what's missing is we were generating this amazing content from students, but it was stuck in Canvas. And so one of the things that we, as a 2.0, that we want to figure out is how do we put, say, their work personality, their Holland codes, their why statement of why they do what they do, so that it's added to the overall information about a student. It doesn't just sit in a class, but it's useful to a much wider group of people. I manage a team, for example, that places students into jobs. This stuff is gold if we had access to it.
Yeah, that's right. And then right now, what's the feedback loop between your co-op partners, the employers, when they're working with a student? I'm trying to picture maybe a student who comes to mind for you, but they go into an employer. Is there any feedback loop that the manager is able to give you to give the student? What how is that currently managed?
Yeah, we have very close feedback loops.
Yeah.
One of our theories of change, one of our hypotheses, is that our students will do so much better if they had support while they were on the job. High expectations, high support. And so every 2 weeks, we check in with every employer, with every manager, and also with every student and say, red, yellow, green, how are things going? If it's green, we're good. Talk to you in 2 weeks. But if it's red or yellow, we get involved and we get involved the next day. And then it's no big deal, but this is happening. And to have the students share with us or the manager, that's really useful. We can anticipate and avoid making small problems into big problems. Also, every student has an end of year um, review by the end of summer review. And then if they get extended, then they do it again in the fall. That is highly detailed, that asks for information about their technical skills and their professional skills so that we can get a sense of where they are. So this is where we actually know who is still struggling with downtime, who has built relationships, who has some work to do in those areas. Um, and so that loop has been very useful for us.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was thinking about the student support network that you form around the student, right? So, um, obviously, when you're delivering the class, you're a primary point of care and reflection to the student. You've got a team of people with would we call them student success, who's interacting with the student as well.
Yeah, we're there. The student is fortunate at our school. Every student has a success coach, and that predates the co-op program, and that is their core person, that caring adult that is in their lives, no matter what. And we work very closely with the success coaches. We have a co-op manager who is also in touch with students in terms of their work activities. So where there was a student who we found was dealing with a crisis with his mom, and it was significantly keeping him from being able to focus. And he was even thinking of dropping out so that he can make extra money so that he can support his mom. It was a real crisis for him. An amazing young man, just thoughtful, reflective, really good at his job, already was online to get a promotion after only 4 months. And so him dropping out would have been a tragedy for everybody. And so we intervened and got involved with student affairs. Student affairs has an emergency fund that fits really well for the type of challenges that his family is going through and was able to provide that type of support. It was $1,100. It seems like a modest sum, but if you don't have any money in the bank, that typical person in the United States does not even have $500 for an emergency. It can make all the difference. And so that knowing we were able to get the information to student affairs was able to then make that determination, and we were able to do all of this within 5 business days.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why we've had a lot of success in our school.
Yeah, and that use case is so interesting to me. You and I are gifted in that we work with different philanthropy organizations as part of our jobs in different ways. But I know so many philanthropists wonder about how do their dollars connect to impact. But I think in certain situations, students are navigating, they're learning and they're earning, they're training more and more at the same time. And then how they finance those activities, whether it's working capital for their life or paying for additional training that gets them ready for the next job. All of those things kind of come together in a way that's not bound together today by any technology. That's one of the big opportunities that we see.
Yeah.
And it's a great use case as an example. I was going to pull up something on my screen really quick, just looking at
Oh, please.
yeah, couple topics that you and I zeroed in on as program outcomes for the class. And we talk about real skills a lot. That's a framework that other people can learn about through our work, but you really zeroed in on some of these inner skills, and I think these are so important. It went back to kind of where you and I connected originally, which is the breakdown that we're seeing in Gen Z on the job. You were talking about it being kind of a defensive stance about making sure that they were successful on the job, but I think it really gets at these skills really get at some of these problems that we're seeing, whether it's engagement, well-being, resilience, turning over when they get into a job, and we're seeing that in mass with Gen Z. So what of these stick out to you in terms of what Science of Success was able to deliver for these kids?
It's a good list. You and I worked, you mentioned habits earlier. I think we made a lot of progress on the habits piece. Um, Clearly the uh, building a really clear idea about why they're doing what they're doing and how to set goals and everything I just described about the having a vision for your future is amazing. Uh, the work that we did on the habit formation was really cool. You introduced a new word to me, which I didn't know, called eustress. And using this athlete metaphor worked really nicely with a metaphor that we used, which was the business athlete, that stress actually can be really healthy. It can be really good. It can drive you to greater performance. And that there are many people, and this was an idea that you had and we ran with, of having our students effectively use ChatGPT to imagine all of the stressors of the people who they admire, either in the world of music or in the world of entrepreneurship or in sports. These heroes, uh, they have to go through a lot every day in order to be able to keep achieving at the standards that they've set for themselves. So what does that look like? And giving a student that inside look into what otherwise just seems like easy peasy, they've got it made. They've got it made, but they also need to work 10 hours a day just to keep things going. Um, Plus. So that was a really neat activity. And again, it was bringing the idea of positive psychology and democratizing that idea so that it can be in a classroom. It was actually because of the positive psychology that we were able to uh, build the support internally for this to be a class that we're hoping will be for every student in our college in the next 3 years. There's a lot to do to get to that point, and we need to do a much deeper evaluation of this. And if it goes the way we think it's going to go, this is a credible academic course called the Science of Success because it plays into the ideas of positive psychology and looking at research, looking at data, understanding the Carol Dwecks and how they approached some of these really big ideas, and then applying them to their lives. And so it is an academic course that belongs in an academic setting, even as it prepares students for success in the workplace. And that was just neat. It was elegant, I think is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Have you I one question I don't know if I we covered off on is do you guys have a mentoring program? Do you pair students with mentors at Franklin Cummings, or is that on the roadmap for you?
Yeah, it isn't something we do formally. The big part is getting them connected on the job. One of the best ways for them to grow in their uh, in their career is not to wait until after they graduate to start working, but to start working while they're still a student through the co-op program. And so the power of a co-op is you have all these people in your life, even as a student, who are professionals who are expecting greatness from you but who are providing you lots and lots of real-time feedback and how to accomplish your goals. And so our best success so far with mentoring has been through the managers who have been supporting our students.
That's great. Yeah. You mentioned the analogy of, entertainers, athletes, but people that the kids look up to. I was going to just show you this clip really fast of one of our partners, Sam Pounds, is a musician. He's a large independent musician, but he gave this clip the other day, and I thought you'd appreciate
One of
this.
them
He talks a little bit about. See if we get into
is
it.
good. Okay, but he come from the south. Oh, he
Oh,
boy, he
sorry, wrong clip. Let me get it for us. It's on our YouTube channel, which you probably haven't had a chance to check out yet.
and but that was an incredible.
Let me pull it up for you.
At the time, Tim O'Reilly said would change the internet forever, which
Let me get this down here. Here we go. Nope.
Experience with A-list
There we
mentors.
go.
intersection culture. Got to have that competitive edge because you got to understand that within music, you can't give up. You got to fight through. You got to work out the plays. You have to make adjustments in the middle of the game, not leaving the game. You have to pivot and change course. All of those things are extremely important in life. And I think as an artist, I think every artist should compete or even try to compete and play in competitive sports so they can kind of translate the work ethic and the day-to-day consistency that you have in the inner push, right? Because you got to push past those that nervousness. You got to push past that doubt. You got to push past when you see a 7-footer on the other end, you can't be afraid and you got to psych yourself out and go get it anyway. So that means you can do the impossible. You got all those things in sports. It translated now. Translate.
Well, so and one of the things I got curious about was as we start talking to more musicians, athletes, you know, we're going to try to bring in more content that educators like yourself can use as examples. Because you and I pulled off of, I think one of our decks we had an example of Jordan and coaching, right? But I get curious about your thoughts on the ability for Gen Z to be inspired by the people they look up to in different domains and how it transfers over this personal performance, this personal and professional development lane, whether no matter what you're pursuing, there's common themes in it. But when you see that piece with Sam, what comes alive for you?
Oh, I love that piece. And I would wonder what they also will have the most creative team names if all these artists are competing.
Yeah.
It works when these very successful people are willing to share their craft and that this all looks easy, but it really isn't. And here's how I do it. And here's the where I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Here's the path I was on. Um, that's one of the things that we train our students to do is to turn transactional relationships into mentor relationships
Mm.
by asking great questions. And this came from Charles Duhigg's Super Communicators book. If you ask transactional questions, you're going to get transactional answers. If you ask transformational questions, you get answers that are really deep. And so I think a lot of it is if you're going to bring in these amazing people who have done these amazing things, ask them transformational questions that get them to reflect on why did I go into this? What was the what? Who were the people who were my mentors? Uh, what was the first car that I ever worked on? That was one of the questions that we have our students ask in an auto shop, right? What was that first car? What was it about uh, automobiles that made you fall in love with this work? And get people to share their passion and get to share their own why. And then two great things happen. One, you talked about mentors. It turns what is essentially could be a transactional managerial relationship into a mentor relationship. And it also creates greater curiosity on the part of the manager about the student because nothing makes you more curious about someone than if they're curious about you first.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the superpowers that we really want our students to have. So, man, if you can get these very successful people to share their lives and ask them killer questions that get them to open up, that stuff's gold.
Yeah, yeah, we kind of think about the problem set a little bit as inspiration, like to see someone like Sam and know that the path that he went down is no different than the path that you're going down. Maybe a different dream, same mechanics.
Yeah.
There's the motivation, of course, which is intrinsic in pointing people back to the things that are on this sheet that we're looking at right here. The intrinsic motivators, the life design, the life vision motivators, the information side about, for example, powerful questions. But training people in the skills that then move them towards realizing their dreams is another key part of the product. We think about teamwork, so being supported by your student success coaches, by your teachers, by your boss, your mentor, but being surrounded socially with the right context, so that they know what questions to ask you based on the data that's revealing itself about you. Being able to express who you are is another big piece, and you put a premium on helping people in the class touch up their LinkedIn, but being able to take the things that they're learning about themselves, their vision statement, their why statement, and putting that on LinkedIn was another big element that I think you zero in on. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of equipping the students to communicate who they are, why they are, and elements like that?
There's the process and the product. The product is they're able to set themselves apart in a very crowded marketplace, and they're competing for the good jobs. Our construction management students in a 2-year college are competing against 4-year college students who are paying 10 times as much for that same education for the same job. So why will they give that job to one of our students? Because our students are able to communicate what they have to offer, not what the company can do for them, but what they can do for the company, and in a really thoughtful way with examples. And they share their why. Why do they get up in the morning and do this work? What is it that makes construction management? What is it? Why is that the thing that inspires them to get up in the morning? So all of that they write and share as part of their preparation to get these great jobs. But the process of coming up with it is really fun. And that requires having our students work on their why statements, having our students really reflect on what are my values? What do I like? What don't I like? What type of work do I enjoy? Using some tried and true things like the Holland Codes, some unusual things like Harvard Business School's 100 job exercise, um, value statements to really hone in on what makes them unique and what fills their tank. And so you get this wonderful product at the end, but that journey is really what makes it valuable.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and then the also you mentioned the knowledge sharing. So when we're thinking about product, we're thinking about how does the student's data integrate with the existing systems so that it can, and so we want to give incentive to schools like yours to put a product in the kids' hands that actually that they can use in class and in life, but that actually integrates with the systems, whether it's
Oh,
Janzibar, whether it's
that'd be tremendous.
um, obviously
Yeah.
privacy was another thing you mentioned, and making sure that the LLM model is contained to the individual. What else is important to you when you think about technology kind of for equipping students to develop these personal and professional skills?
Yeah, you hit on a lot of it. Privacy is important because we're in a higher ed institution. We're accredited as a 2-year college, so there's certain rules that we need to follow in a highly regulated industry. Um, we want, as a learning organization, to know, is this working?
Hmm.
Are students learning these skills? Are they developing these competencies? Are companies agreeing with that statement? Because we can make all sorts of claims that our students are super well prepared, but we're going to know with all humility if that's true because the company is letting us know how they're doing on the job.
Yeah.
And so technology, and we're hoping through partnership with you, can really give us the data to know if it's working. And when it's not, what do we need to do to fix it? What do we need to do for this curriculum area? What do we need to do for this student? Um, what do we need to do in this company so that our students can succeed and add value, and the companies feel like this is the best deal in town?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've shared with you before, but I think on in terms of the preparation side, this just got blown up in a way that doesn't help us, does it? Um, but I think the cohorts that we've run with athletes, you see the data, right? And I think with what we roll out in the future together, I think there's an opportunity for us to do more evaluation on the front end, more measurement through time. um, but I think these are the metrics that employers are going to be looking for when they work with your students. And this is just on the anti-fragility side of the house, but then there's the career preparation side of the house, which I think so much of what you bring to bear in this curriculum is so important. And our hope and our vision is to basically make it so you have Dr. Adam Wright in your pocket, you have Michael Goldstein in your pocket, and basically you have like a set of people who know how to combine that personal performance element, that career development element, the feedback of the people that surround you, all in a singular product, so that the you got a 360 view of yourself. You got people around you who have at least powerful questions they can ask you that's informed by a 360 view of yourself. And that ideally that integrates with the navigational software that we have at the schools, that better help and support these students know what the right action to take is next, what the right adjustment is, what the next curriculum they need to do, engage in a more meaningful way would be. And that's the hope for the product for sure. Um, taking up a lot of your time today, and I just wanted to cruise through the stuff that I'm so grateful for our relationship. I'm so proud of the stuff that we've already done. I see so many opportunities to productize it and make it better. But when you dwell on the conversation, or you just think about what's ahead, what anything else alive for you before we wrap up?
Uh, I, I am grateful for this partnership, for this friendship. This is just really fun to take different ideas from different sectors, to think that there is research on positive psychology that can directly impact this HVAC student to get a better job, like crazy, or to use AI tools that can take an already pretty good curriculum and turn it into something amazing. Uh, it's it's the combinatorial magic of taking things from disparate areas and turning it into something that can really help students. That's one of the reasons why I love our partnership, our collaboration.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for it. It's been super fun. And my hope is that this video saves you some due diligence calls from people. And but you've been, in tech, you always look for your visionary customer, and you've been nothing short of the archetype of a person who is a visionary and innovator and willing to try things. And I think you're on the leading edge of where higher education needs to go, with Frankly Cummings Tech. And you've got an incredible set of leaders there, and it's been a gift to open this first chapter and begin our next one.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, President Francis, our president, has made it very clear that we're going to be the best choice for students because we provide the best value to students. It should be what every college should say. It's not always happening. That it's that outcome, that great job, like actually graduating, that is the reason why we should exist.
Yeah, and you guys are nailing applied learning, and I think
Thanks.
you know, so many colleges, if they're going to stay relevant, they're going to need to look a lot more like you guys in the future. And I know you're seeing that as you look out at your peer set. Um, well, fantastic, Michael. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the friendship and the partnership. And
Oh, you're welcome.
we'll call this a recorded conversation from now.
Sounds good.
More to come. I'll hit stop here.
All right. How'd that go?
That was wonderful.